Today is April the 2nd, 2023. This is Carmen bringing you your daily Bloodborne Remaster update. There's no news on a Bloodborne Remaster day, but there's some news circling around with the big console makers here. So first of all, apparently Sony has some kind of new hardware that they're developing that has not been reported on yet. And they're interested in how the competition will react to this. Now, my mind immediately goes to handheld devices. I myself really want the PSP to come back. You know, the Vita was a really good console. It could almost run like PS3 games on it if Sony had just supported it. Sony really did not support this console at all. They put it out, this handheld. They put it out, added like 2 or 3 launch games to it. Never touched this thing again. Sony single-handedly killed their own console with that. So if they do this again, if they make like a PS Vita 2 or a new PSP, they have really got to support it. Now, a slight hiccup with this is that Sony seems to be supporting the Steam Deck, which is a very weird wrinkle in the idea of a handheld, but I could still see Sony doing it. If they see that the Steam Deck is doing really well, you know, they see the Steam Deck and the Switch is doing really well, they could get back into it with a PSP or a PS Vita. So I'm very interested in that. I hope that something interesting at least comes of this. I would really like a handheld though, for sure. And now, of course, people are debating, who should Microsoft buy next? Now, there's 2 huge issues with this, right? First of all, people are talking about Japanese companies for them to buy. Now, if I'm correct, a foreign company cannot buy a Japanese company. Japan has a law on this that says that directly says a foreign company cannot buy a Japanese company. So I'm assuming this is impossible. But also, there's no shot that Microsoft is allowed to buy another publisher. It will not happen. With all the drama that got kicked up over the Activision Blizzard merger, if they have Bethesda and Activision and Xbox Game Studios, no, they're not going to be allowed to buy another publisher. It's simply not going to happen. That would be way too many publishers under this one brand. It'll never happen. But people were voting for either Square Enix, Sega, or Capcom. Real quick, let's go over this. Capcom is doing too well to sell, 100%. Capcom is doing way too well, making way too much money, and has too many sales on PlayStation for that to ever happen. Although the split on their sales is not quite as different as what Square Enix is. Square Enix is a complete impossibility because their games are just not on Xbox consoles, you know. Their market is on PlayStation. Their games are on PlayStation, so they would never sell to Xbox where their games are not known there, where their games are not played. Like, they don't have a market there. There's no reason why they would. And third of all, Sega. Sega is possible, but I think is unlikely because, again, I don't think that it's possible for them to buy Sega, but out of these 3, Sega is by far the most likely, especially since about 5 years ago, Microsoft was keeping Sega on life support themselves by funding. I think they funded most of Phantasy Star Online 2, the remake of it or whatever it was. So that's the most likely, but again, I doubt that's going to happen simply because, again, there's no shot Microsoft is allowed to buy another publisher, and I don't think they can buy a Japanese company. So people are getting their hopes up. I don't think it's ever going to happen, but we'll have to see. Anyways, there's no news on a Bloodborne Remaster day. Just want to report on some of the other news that's going on in gaming. That's been your daily Bloodborne Remaster update for April the 2nd, 2023.